My name is Megan Burns. I'm the programs manager here at Morris-Jumel Mansion. And with me today is one of our fabulous educators, Meg Lynch, and our executive director, Shiloh Holly. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And whenever you're, would you like me to, Shiloh, would you like to start with the introduction, and then
Sure.
I can do the Zoom overview.
Yeah, well, welcome everyone. So great to have you with us today. My name is Shiloh Holly. I'm the director at the Morris-Jumel Mansion. Has anyone been to the mansion before? We're going to share a poll which asks that question. So you can hit yes or no on your screen and let us know if you've been to the Morris-Jumel Mansion before.
Hey, Mom, sorry.
Okay, come. And while those poll results are coming in, I just want to talk a little bit about the history of this very special place. The Morris-Jumel Mansion was built in 1765, and it was home to two pretty prominent families, the Morris family and also the Jumel family, who moved in 1810. They were the longest residents, and they were there until 1865. And in more modern times, the neighborhood surrounding the mansion was home to many luminaries of the Harlem Renaissance. So we have 255 great years of history that we explore at the mansion. And so today we're going to be digging in a little bit more about when President George Washington was at the mansion with sharing his special treat of favorite dessert of ice cream. So today we're honoring George Washington's cabinet dinner, which was held on the grounds on the second Sunday in July 1790. And this is part one of our event for today. Later this afternoon, we're going to be having some talks from scholars. So we invite you to join the second part, which starts at 3 p.m. We'll put a link to the registration in the chat if anyone wants to join us later for that part of today's program. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Megan Burns, who's going to tell a little bit of housekeeping for today's program.
Great. Thank you so much, Shiloh. So just before we get started making our delicious ice cream treat, I'm really pleased to say that a lot of you will be joining us today. And so in order for us to be able to follow along and hear Meg, I ask, if you are not muted or ready, to please go to your Zoom menu located at the bottom of your screen and hit the mute button where the microphone is. The main way we're going to communicate today is via the chat box. So again, in the center of your screen, you'll see that little like cartoon bubble that says chat. So if you have any questions or want to share any thoughts, I will be monitoring that and periodically speaking and sharing those with Meg and Shiloh. Additionally, we are going to be recording this event today. So as such, this is a gentle reminder that if you don't wish to be on the recording today, you can either exit our program or shut your video off using the bottom left-hand corner. Next to the microphone is a little camera. So you can shut that view off. And if you do decide to stay in the meeting with us today, you are giving your consent to be recorded. And finally, if you want, at the end of Meg's presentation, if you want to speak at all, you can use at the bottom of your Zoom towards the right, there's a little reaction bar. So if you use one of those, either thumbs up or something, that will indicate that you would like to speak today. So we will ask to unmute you for that. Okay, I think that's it. So without further ado, here is Meg, and let's make some ice cream together.
Okay, thank you all for joining us today. We are very excited to share our sort of updated version of 18th century ice cream making. So if you have not already gathered your supplies, this would be a great time to do that. So what we are going to need today is either a gallon-sized freezer bag or an empty coffee can that still has its top. You can rinse it out. It doesn't need to be squeaky clean. It is not going to touch your ice cream. Then we also need 2 sandwich-sized freezer bags. You can also use some reusable ones if you don't want to be wasteful. We're also going to need some milk and heavy cream. If we have any non-dairy, anyone who can't have dairy or would prefer nut milk or soy, you can also substitute that. I recommend using coconut milk as the substitute, or a coconut creamer as the substitute for the heavy cream, and any kind of nut cream or nut milk for the milk. We also need some sugar and some rock salt that's pretty thick, like kosher rock salt, vanilla extract, and any sort of flavorings or mix-ins that you would like to add. So as Shiloh mentioned, the house was built in 1765 for the Morris family. They were only here for about 10 years, and then George Washington moved in during the Revolution. And fun fact about our founding father, one of his favorite foods was ice cream. And he came back to the mansion later after his residence here during the Revolution for a dinner that involved all of our famous founding fathers, the first cabinet, Thomas Jefferson, Henry Knox, John Adams, and Alexander Hamilton, including all of their wives. John Adams' son was also there. And if you'd like to learn more about this, please tune into our program later this afternoon at 3 p.m. It's going to be a really exciting day, and we will actually go into the history of ice cream a little bit deeper then. But for now, let's talk about the history of ice cream. So, one second. So ice cream is not actually a modern invention. It has definitely been refined over the past century or so because of innovations in technology such as transportation, as well as refrigeration. But Alexander the Great, in 300 BC, Alexander the Great was sending his servants up to the mountains to bring down some snow to mix with fruit. So we've had ice cream for over 2,000 years, or some version of it. The first time ice cream was entered into the Oxford Dictionary was 1744. That is 10 years before more than 10 years before the Morris-Jumel mansion was built. So it has been an integral part of American history since the start. Right here you can see a copy of Hannah Glass's The Art of Cookery Made Plain and Easy, which far exceeds anything yet published. And guess who had a copy? Martha Washington. This also includes a recipe for ice cream, and you can see that on the screen. She describes the ingredients list as 6 ounces of double refined sugar and 4 very exact handfuls of salt. Then place into a tub of broken ice, and after it's all froze up, put it into a mold. We also have, so this right here is the first ad for ice cream from 1777. That's a really long time. The first ice cream machine that George Washington purchased was in 1784. And now, just like most things, ice cream has become, even though it was a treat that was around for a while and an international treat, Americans really improved the texture, the taste, and we really claimed ice cream as our own sort of national treat. July is actually National Ice Cream Month, so this is a perfect time for you to be joining us and learning how to make your own ice cream. So back to that cabinet dinner. That was in 1790. Just so happens that that's the same year that the very first ice cream parlor opened up in New York City. That's the same year that George Washington and his cabinet members returned to the mansion and had a fancy dinner. He also received a $200 bill for ice cream from a New York merchant that year. $200 in 1790 equals $5,573 in 2020 with the price of inflation. So perhaps presidential luxuries are not such a modern issue. Now, who ate the 18th century ice cream? Well, I've already given you a bit of a teaser. We know George Washington did. But in general, people who lived in houses like this would have been eating ice cream. Very wealthy people. Why is that? Well, what did we need to, why did we need, why did the wealthy people eat ice cream and not those who were less fortunate? Well, part of the reason is because you would have needed, number one, access to a cow, and you would have needed to have so much extra ice cream or so much extra cream from that cow that you would have been able to make ice cream. We would have also needed lots of supplies that Washington himself and the wealthy people would not have been acquiring on their own. Who would have been acquiring those? Well, unfortunately, the enslaved people who were owned by these very wealthy families would have dealt with the burden of making the ice cream as well as acquiring the supplies. So going back to our own ice cream making, here are the ingredients that we are going to need today. So make sure you have your half cup measurement with you, you've got your ice ready, and we are ready to go. So where were the enslaved people and the wealthy families who were eating ice cream like Washington getting these ingredients? So we need ice, we need cream, sugar and salt, and some flavoring. Does anybody have any ideas where they might have gotten these? Anyone in the chat have any ideas about where they may have gotten these supplies? Well, I'll give you a hint. We already discussed the cow. So we would have needed enough access to cream, milk, and dairy to have a surplus to make ice cream, aside from all of our general cooking.
We actually do. Lavera, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, also wanted to know sugarcane plant or maybe plantation, because that's a lot of sugar, right?
Exactly. So we would have needed to import that stuff, right? Sugar is not something that grows naturally in the United States. So that would have, or it certainly didn't back then. So that would have needed to be imported. And to import food and luxury items like this at the time, we know that there were heavy, heavy taxes placed on this. And how do we know that? Because of the American Revolution. So it would have been very expensive to import things like sugar and salt. And this is another reason why ice cream was only for the very wealthy. Now, what flavors would they have been using? So we are actually going to launch a poll right now to find out what flavors our audience is interested in.
Before we do that, I actually wanted to share our poll results from earlier about who's been to Morris-Jumel Mansion. And it seems like only 18% of our participants have been and said yes. 36% said no. And 45% of you out there said not yet, but I plan on it. We hope to see you in person when it's safe to reopen our doors. So
we're honored to have you here virtually.
Absolutely.
So while you launch that poll, I'm going to talk about one ingredient that we have not discussed yet, the ice. So back in 1790, when George Washington spent almost $5,000 on ice cream in New York City, we didn't have refrigeration, right? So does anyone have any idea how, you can go ahead and put it in the chat, does anyone have any idea how they would have acquired ice back in the 18th century? No ideas?
I think our poll has launched, so I think people are focusing on that. Again, Lavera suggested snow.
Yeah, exactly. So you're on the right track. During the winter, people like George Washington, and he actually wrote about this quite a bit in his personal journal. During the winter, what people would do was go out onto the river and cut out huge chunks of ice. By people, I mean the enslaved people who were tasked with coming up with the ice cream. So on some of the coldest nights of the year, Washington would write home to Mount Vernon suggesting that making sure that the coldest ice was acquired. So the harder the chunk of ice, the longer it would last. And what they would do is build ice houses specifically to keep the ice cold up until September, as long as they possibly could throughout the summer. Washington also wrote in his letters once or twice that he was quite frustrated that the ice didn't make it past July.
So we've got some great connections over here in the chat, by the way. So Vanessa was right on track. She said purchase from the ice house. Michelle and Berkowitz said freezing water in the winter, cutting ice from lakes. And then also they made a connection with the Laura Ingalls Wilder stories about eating snow with molasses.
Mm-hmm.
Very yummy.
That is exactly what the Romans would have done. They would have taken the nectar of fruits and poured it together with snow. So Americans have just really innovated that. So I see here in the poll that our favorite ice cream flavors, cookies and cream, is really taking off. That's the big winner at 46%. Mint chocolate chip is second with 23%. Then we've got strawberry at 15%, chocolate at 8%. And 8% likes pistachio. I noticed that nobody liked oyster ice cream. We will talk about that a little, more ice cream flavors a little bit more later, but I know that you are all waiting to get started. So I am going to go ahead and start our process. So the first thing that we want to do is get our flavor mix-ins. So if you've decided that you don't want vanilla ice cream and you'd like to mix some flavors in, you can go ahead and crush up your cookies, cut up your strawberries now. I'm actually only going to make vanilla ice cream, so I don't have any mix-ins. However, our next step is going to be taking one of our small Ziploc bags. So one of these, not the large one, the smaller one. And first we're going to put the solid ingredients in, right? So if you have any mix-ins, if you have chocolate chips, strawberries, cookies, if you are getting fancy, maybe you're making some peach ice cream. So we want those solid ingredients to go in first. The next thing that we're going to do is put in our sugar. So carefully holding the bag open like this, we're going to put in 2 teaspoons of sugar, or I'm sorry, 2 tablespoons of sugar. Okay, you have your tablespoons of sugar. Now, the salt is for our next step, but we do need a tiny pinch of it. When I say a tiny pinch of salt, I really mean a tiny, tiny pinch. That's about how much I'm using, a very small amount. So, a pinch of salt goes in there, and next we're adding the vanilla extract. So we're doing 1 teaspoon. I've already poured mine out over here. We're doing 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So we'll wait a second if you need any help from adults measuring stuff out. And for those of you who are familiar with Zoom, when you're ready, if you want to give us a thumbs up with the reaction, that would be a great way to let us know that you're ready to move on. Okay. I see lots of pouring going on there. So some of the flavors that early Americans would have used, the very first flavor of ice cream that was documented was strawberry ice cream. And some of the earliest flavors would have also included raspberry, apricot, peach, mostly local fruits. So that's where we would have been getting the mix-ins. The fruits may have come locally, raspberries, things like that. I see such hard work going on here.
Have any of you ever made homemade ice cream before?
Ooh, great question.
You can either respond in the chat or give us a thumbs up.
Okay, so I'm going to keep moving for those of you who are ready, and we can pause and backtrack if we need to. So our next step is going to be taking, now I've already poured both my cream and my milk into this container. So there's half a cup of each. And what you want to do here is make sure you're really holding this bag sturdy. You might need an adult to help you, or if you're working as a family, it might be a good idea to do this one at a time and, you know, have somebody hold the bag open for you. So holding my bag tightly, I'm going to pour my milk in and my heavy cream. I am actually dairy free, so I used a soy creamer and oat milk for this. Okay. So now you can see I'm holding my bag very tightly, but it's still open. The next thing that you want to do is so carefully using both hands and maybe the assistance of somebody else, squeeze the air out of the bag as much as you possibly can and seal it very, very tightly. Okay.
Meg, we actually do have a question
Great.
from Robin, who wants to know, did they mash up the fruit before adding it to the flavoring?
So they would have, and if you would like to, that's why that was our first step, chopping up all of the solid stuff. Something else that they would have done too, they would have pushed the raspberries or anything with seeds through a sort of strainer. You know, we use mesh strainers today. So if you are making fruit ice cream and you'd like to make sure you're not getting any seeds in there, if you happen to have a metal strainer, you can absolutely put the fruit into the strainer and take another bowl and mash down onto the strainer and catch the mushed up fruit underneath. So yeah, they would have tried to make seedless ice cream for sure. But again, this wouldn't have been a perfect art back then as it is today. So my first Ziploc bag is full with all of my ingredients and it's sealed. My next step is going to be taking my second Ziploc bag and placing it inside. The reason we're doing that is because we're taking a shortcut today. Back in the 18th century, they would have had a very specific ice cream making machine. So it would have been a wooden barrel, and the ice would have sat inside the wooden barrel, and then they would have had a pewter, which is a type of metal. And the reason we would be using pewter is because metal is a conductor of heat and coldness, right? So if you put something into a metal container and it's cold, the metal will help contain that. So they would leave the ice cream to sit in the container of ice and then churn it to make sure all of the ingredients were mixed together. And this would have been a very long and tedious process. We are going to cheat a little bit today and help increase that process with our muscles. So now that it's inside the second Ziploc bag, which is going to prevent your ice cream from getting salty, we are going to seal that tightly and place it to the side.
Meg, can we just pause for a moment? If everyone is up to this point and ready for the next step, can you either hold up your doubled Ziploc bag in the video or give us a thumbs up if you're not on video in the chat? Okay, Grace is ready to go. Awesome, awesome. Melanie is ready. Chelsea, Mia's group is ready. Melanie is not sure if she's ready to go to the next step. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Vanessa's group, wonderful. Okay, take it away, Meg.
Okay, so now we're up to step 4. And this is the part where we're going to take a bit of a shortcut. So you can either use an empty coffee can that does have a top, or you can use a Ziploc bag. If you're using the coffee can, you can potentially roll it back and forth to create motion, or you'll be shaping the bag. So I'm going to show you both examples. First, I'm gonna take this big chunk of ice and put it into the and I'm also going to add so I'm showing you both options, but you just need to do one. So I'm also going to take my ice and put it into the Ziploc bag. Okay. Now that my ice is ready, the next thing I'm going to do is take our thick salt. If you don't have thicker salt, that's okay. Regular table salt will work as well, but the thicker the salt, generally the better, or the coarser it will be. So you want to pour it on in the bag. You can sort of make sure you distribute it properly. And in the can, we're going to shake it up so you don't need to worry about distributing it properly. So what the salt is going to do, the salt is going to keep the ice nice and cold. Not only is it going to keep it cold, it's going to keep that temperature really, really cold and really low so that it doesn't melt on us as we're shaking, or not as much. Okay, Melanie would like to see step 3 again. Okay. So step 3, we already have all of our ingredients in the smaller Ziploc bag. We're going to seal it, pushing out as much air as we possibly can. And then we're going to place that bag with the ingredients inside a second smaller bag. The reason we're doing that is because next we're going to place this bag into the container with ice and salt. However, in case your Ziploc bag leaks even a tiny bit, this outer bag will protect your ice cream from getting too salty. So that's why we've added this second element with the second Ziploc bag. So we've poured our salt over. We've carefully distributed. Okay, and next we're going to take our ice cream bag and place it inside. So if you're using the can, an option would be to shake it, or if you have a family member with you, and a carpet, you can sit down and roll the can back and forth. You can also go outside. I do recommend, if you can, to either wrap the can in a hand towel or use a kitchen glove or something that will prevent your hands, because guess what? It's going to get cold. Now, if we're using a Ziploc bag, I see some of you are already ahead of me and you're shaking. Amazing job. So if you're using a Ziploc bag, we just want to make sure it seals really, really tightly. You might want to roll it a little bit just in case, and then wrap this ice in a paper towel and shake. So I'm actually going to use the Ziploc bag because it's a little bit quieter than the can. How are we doing, Megan? Does it look like everyone is close to where we are?
It seems like a few people are. Again, for those of you who don't have your videos on, please give us a thumbs up if you are at the shaking point.
Oh, I see some bags up in the air.
Great. Oh, everybody. And you can even add some dance moves if you want.
Yeah. So,
Awesome. Okay, Chelsea and Vanessa's group are ready. I can see a whole lot of shaking going on. Thumbs up from Sophia and Lavera. I think we are good. How long do we do this for, Meg?
So what you want to do is shake this until it starts to feel a bit solid. Now, come back a little bit closer now that our demonstration is done. So this ice cream is not actually going to be the same consistency as the ice cream you're used to. What we're used to is some pretty thick ice cream that's almost solid. You can get a good scoop of it, right? Well, that would not have been the case back then. Why? Because we didn't have refrigerators or freezers to freeze the ice cream and keep it solid until it was ready. And we were also using this technique that required a lot of time and a lot of ice, a lot of supplies. So most of the ice cream would have been served in cups, things that looked like cups as opposed to bowls, because by the time most of the ice cream was served, it was probably getting pretty liquid. So the consistency would have been a little bit different, and the consistency of your ice cream today is going to be a little bit less solid than you are used to. So we probably won't be putting this in a cone. So some more fun facts about ice cream. The Morris-Jumel Mansion actually became a museum in 1904, which is the same year that a waffle cone was given out and sold at the 1904 World's Fair. So as you can see, as time progressed, so did ice cream innovations. What else helped create the kind of ice cream that we experience and enjoy today so easily? Well, increases in transportation. So if you can move ice cream from one point to another, for the people who didn't have their own cows, for example, or didn't have their own ice houses, exactly, refrigeration, advances in refrigeration technology really allowed ice cream not only to be preserved and to be shared at a wider distance, but we could keep it longer. You didn't have to eat your ice cream immediately after making it. So,
oh yeah, so I did, other than putting refrigerators in the chat, I'm curious to know, when everyone has a chance, if you'd like to share what flavors you are planning to add to your ice cream when you're done with all that shaking and mixing.
Yeah. So I mentioned that it is National Ice Cream Month, and it became National Ice Cream Month thanks to President Ronald Reagan, who loved ice cream so much that he declared July National Ice Cream Month in 1984. Washington is not the only president who really enjoyed ice cream. Not only did Dolly Madison make ice cream or import ice cream as well, she had some interesting flavors on her recipe list. Oysters was on the poll. That was Dolly Madison's favorite kind of ice cream. I see your thumbs down, Megan. Boo to oyster ice cream. Has anyone added oysters to their ice cream today? I hope not. President Nixon actually tried macadamia nut ice cream while he was in Hawaii and loved it so much that he imported 13 gallons of it to the White House and looked for it on every trip that he went to the West Coast for. And some of you may also know that our former Vice President Joe Biden is famous for loving ice cream. His favorite flavor is vanilla chocolate chip, and he actually had a version of that named after him, Big Red, White, and Biden. I believe that was by Haagen-Dazs, but I would have to double check.
Meg, what's your favorite ice cream flavor?
That's tough. I really like cookies and cream, but I also like vanilla because you can add anything that you want to it. If you have cookie dough at home, if you have particular flavors, you can add peanut butter. So I like the ability of having a clean slate and adding whatever I want to it. Although I will say American Dream is a favorite of mine as well.
So good.
Ben & Jerry's is a favorite for sure. They've definitely nailed that.
Lavera said cookie dough. That is another good one. I really love Haagen-Dazs chocolate with swirls of peanut butter.
Ooh, yes.
Delicious.
Yes. So when I have not been shaking my ice cream, but so what I might do is I'm probably go, ooh, you want to put Oreos in, Michelle?
There's no such thing as too many Oreos, is there?
Nope, absolutely not. So if you take out your ice cream and you notice that it's still a little bit, if your muscles are getting tired and you notice that your ice cream is still a little liquid, you can also cheat because it's 2020 and use your freezer. But if you want to get the real experience of churning ice cream, keep shaking. If you did use non-dairy options, you are definitely going to need to shake a little bit longer, and you might need the assistance of your refrigerator for that. So now that we have come towards the end, I think we can stop screen sharing so I can see all of your progress. Yes, it is hard work. So I'm going to let us go back to gallery view. And if you would like to, we would love to see your work. Melanie, I see lots of ingredients out there. Ooh, I see the Chung family's doing a great job. You look like you're almost done. I see Mom wiping down the bag. Yeah, so those Ziploc bags might leak a bit. So that's another reason why it's good to wrap the towel around it as you're shaking.
Has anybody tried their ice cream yet?
Ooh, yeah. So again, it's not going to be quite as solid
Not
as
yet.
you're used to. But as soon as you feel that it's getting there, then you're close and you can take it out and eat it. But be sure to dispose of that second Ziploc bag, the outer Ziploc bag, so that your ice cream is not salty. And if you do want to share it, you are welcome to pour it out into a bowl. Or if you want to be old-fashioned, you can have your ice cream in a cup. Any questions or comments? Anyone want to show off their fresh made ice cream, or are you all working hard shaking and rolling your coffee cans around?
So maybe this can also double as exercise, right? You burn off all those calories before you eat.
Absolutely, yeah.
Vanessa says, thanks for this workshop. Well, thank you for coming, Vanessa. We hope you enjoyed it. Anyone else have any additional questions or thoughts for Meg, or questions about the mansion? Maybe Shiloh, you can share a little bit of what we have planned for later today.
Yeah, happy to do so, Megan. So later this afternoon, for those of you who are interested in joining us, and we'll again share the link for the registration for our 3 p.m. program, we have a series of scholars who are going to be taking a look at different components of this dinner. We have talks about the Palladian architecture and the inspiration on the mansion. We have a talk on George Washington's place settings and China service that he used when he was president, and which actually includes some ice cream ware that he had commissioned as a part of the China service. And our last talk is going to be a little bit more related to American history and talk about the formation of George Washington's inaugural cabinet. We're also going to share a little bit more about initiatives that are happening currently at the mansion. Again, that link is in the chat, so we'd love for you guys to join us at 3 p.m. All of our programs are recorded, so if you can't catch us today, you can catch us later. We have them on our social media platforms as well as our YouTube channel. And we will put links to those in the chat so you can easily find all of our handles.
So I thank you, Shiloh, for giving us an overview of the rest of the fun activities for today. I will also be following up with each of you via email after this with a brief survey, as well as a link to some of those extra resources and future programs that we have, which thank you for putting up the slide. So the next we have hands-on activities like this each month, normally on second Saturdays, called Virtual Con Edison Family Days. So right now they are on Zoom, so you can participate from wherever you are. So there will be a link about that. It'll be on August the 8th at 1 p.m. with another one of our fabulous educators, Angela, and we're going to be looking at historic portraits and making our own. This upcoming Wednesday, July 15th at 7, we're also going to have the next installment of our virtual parlor chat series, where we invite experts to come in and share their area of expertise connected with the mansion and its history. So we're very pleased to have Professor Catherine Manthorn. She's an art historian who's going to be sharing 2 Elizas in Old New York, talking about Eliza Jumel, who lived at Morris-Jumel Mansion, and another Eliza Greatorex, who was a famous artist. And then next month as well, on Sunday, August 8th, we will be having a special presentation with John Reddick, who's an architectural historian. He's going to share a little bit about the architecture of the Harlem Renaissance. So we hope that you can join us for some of these or all of these programs. We'd love to see you there. And then lastly, if you want to stay in touch with us and learn some more fun things about the mansion, get a preview for other events that are coming up, or if any of you want to take pictures of and share your ice cream making and eating today, you can tag us on Instagram at Morris-Jumel, on Twitter. You can visit us on YouTube, where we'll be posting the video for this presentation. And you can also follow us and share things with us on Facebook at Morris-Jumel Mansion.
And if you do post photos of your ice cream, we will absolutely reshare them
Yes, we
in
will.
our feed. And if you are interested in any of our past virtual programming like this, our educator Jessica did a DIY garden, windowsill garden a few weeks ago. We've got lots of interesting programming up on YouTube.
Great. So we're very happy that you guys were able to join us today, and it looks like a few of you are already digging into your ice cream, which is just really, really fantastic. So we try really hard to bring as many free programming as we can to you. So if you feel so inclined and you're able to, we would love for you to make a donation to the mansion. You can text MJM to 44321, and that'll send you a link to make a donation. There's also a link in the chat. Again, thanks so much for joining us, and please let us know how your ice cream turned out, and we would love to see images of everyone's treats that have been made today.
So Shiloh, could you reiterate that number one more time? So text MJM to
text MJM to 44321.
That's easy enough. Thank you.
I see the Riley family is still shaking there. Great job. It's a good workout. Thank you for coming, Melanie.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. I hope you enjoy your ice cream. And we hope to see you again next time, either online or eventually someday in person too. So enjoy your ice cream, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.